Well, you caught me laying down on the job. Let me get this buttoned up here and I'll explain what I'm working on. Have you guys ever had one of those projects, a 20-minute job that takes all day? Yeah, that's what's behind me here. It's actually a 20-minute job that took multiple days. But I was running the Straightline Ripsaw here the other day, and well, I got an oil leak on the oiler. I knew that because there's a big puddle of oil under the machine and down the side of the machine. So I shut it down. I got some new tubing and figured yesterday afternoon, well, I'll just replace that quick. I got a bunch of boards to rip. And well, not so easy. Once I got in there, I realized that all 5 of the oil lines were pretty well cracked and the others were not too shortly after going to blow. So I figured, well, we might as well replace them all. 3 of them are super easy, and like most things in life, it's those last 2, they just fought me for hours. You literally cannot see to work on them. You have to basically do it by feel. And well, I don't even want to talk about it. But as I was laying under there for hours on end and went home covered in oil last night and wrapped it up this morning, got to thinking, you know, we've never really talked about this machine in detail. And I know over the years I've had a bunch of people come into my shop here and ask, what is that thing? You know, most people are familiar with the jointer and planer and common shop tools that you see in most woodworking shops. Now, be it my stuff's a little bit bigger than a home woodworker, but this is one that is unique that most home woodworkers have no idea what it is. So I figured, might as well make a video about it and I'll explain it. So this is a Straightline Ripsaw. Basically, the way I describe it to people, it's a table saw on steroids. So there's a big 12-inch blade in there. In fact, you can see it there. That's your saw blade. And like a table saw, it has a fence. And if you can see there, it's got my numbers on it so I can tell exactly where I'm at for width. And you basically feed it like a table saw. But that's where the similarities stop, because this is power feed. This is a track drive, we call it a Caterpillar track for obvious reasons. It's very similar to like a Caterpillar bulldozer. So you line the board up and you feed it through, grabs the board. There's pressure rollers here that push down and sandwiches the board between the pressure rollers and the track. It grabs it and it pulls it through perfectly straight and cuts it. So, okay, that's pretty simple. If you know how a table saw works, well, that's pretty straightforward. You know, you just put your edge against the fence and run it. But the beauty of this machine, why it's so great, is you don't have to use the fence. I have a laser here. And when I turn this on, it shoots a laser line, and it shoots it about 10 foot out. I have it set up that I can hold the board back and it'll shoot a line across the board, and that's a straight line that's parallel with the saw blade. So if you were to take a board like this, which is about to go through there in a couple minutes, and it's got 2 rough edges, and it came out of the kiln fairly straight, but it just has the slightest little bow to it. So I can run one edge on the laser without the fence and make a perfectly straight line. Then I can bring it back, measure my width, set my fence, and run my other edge. So if you're familiar with traditional woodworking, you typically use a jointer for that. You'd run one edge on the jointer to get it straight and true, and then you'd cut it to dimension on the table saw. Well, this skips that joining step, and it's extremely fast. You'll see, I'll run it for you here in a minute. It's way faster than you'd run a table saw. It's a 15 horsepower motor and the drive motor separate, so way more power than than a regular table saw, and way faster. So why do I need a machine like this? Well, for years and years, I used it to prep my molding and flooring blanks, and it works great for that. It's super fast, super accurate. If you were going to try to joint every board and run it through a table saw, well, you'd quickly probably quit and find a new job to do. When you're doing volume, when you're doing 1,000 square feet of flooring or more than that, production is everything. So this is a production machine. Now that being said, a few years ago I upgraded to a 2-blade edger down at the sawmill, and I actually use that for my flooring blanks, and that's basically the same concept. That has 2 lasers and 2 blades in a fence, so it's basically twice as fast. But this machine I still use for highly detailed, accurate work. A lot of my moldings will still go on this machine just because it is dead straight accurate. It's actually amazing how accurate it is. Even with boards that have some twist and turn to them, it'll put a dead straight edge on it. So really nice machine. The other thing I'll say about this, these machines are rated for what's called a glue line rip. So what that means is you're supposed to be able to run the board through, or run 2 boards through, put them together and glue them. I believe, if I remember off the top of my head, it's been a lot of years, 7 foot. This machine has a 7-foot glue line rip. So in other words, you're guaranteed within 7 feet, you can make a 7-foot long glue up. I'll say that's probably true if you have a really good blade on there, although I don't particularly use it like that. I'm old school. I still like to joint my edges and get a perfectly true edge, although I have on times just done right off the saw glue ups, and it works, but I'm just kind of a little fussy with that kind of stuff. So that's another thing, you can kind of skip edge joining and glue right off the saw if you have them dialed in real nice. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward once you understand what it does. You control your up and down for different thicknesses of wood. This will do up to about 3 inches thick. I can control my feed speed, obviously the fence, laser, and well, the oiler here on the side. So this is what caused me all my headaches. It has an electronic oiler. You can adjust it every so many minutes. It'll shoot some oil onto the track, just like a Caterpillar bulldozer track. Your undercarriage can wear out, so the advantage to this over a bulldozer, it has an automatic oiler to really just lubricate all your pins and pads there, just to keep everything going. So it's important that works. That's why I had to stop and get that fixed. And also, well, made a tremendous mess on the floor. But the good thing is sawdust is the best oil absorbent, and I got no shortage of that. So I'm not too worried about the oil on the floor. This machine is an Oliver. Like most of the stuff in here, bought this one used. It was actually damaged in shipping. They dropped it, and what a mess that was. I had to file an insurance claim with the shipper, and that's why that electrical box there is kind of skewed a little bit. Actually ended up having to put it back together myself. It came to me basically in a bunch of broken pieces, so I had to order a bunch of parts and put it back together. And that was many years ago, and quite a production, but got it all working perfect, and it's a nice machine. Speaking of used machinery, I've got a video coming up I really want to make. It's been on my to-do list for quite a while about buying used equipment, some tips and tricks, how I've saved thousands, tens of thousands of dollars over the years buying equipment. If you've been watching the channel, I've got quite a bit of it. So make sure you subscribe if you're not already to catch that. That's going to be coming up, and that's one I'm excited to do. Love talking about equipment, so that's on my to-do list. So that'll be coming out in the next week or two as soon as I get some free time to make it. But anyway, this Oliver, I've had this, geez, I don't know, at least 12 years, probably more. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. Good machine. So I can talk about it all day, but I guess maybe what I'll do is just fire it up here for you, show you how it works, show you how it can eat up some wood. So hopefully you guys could see that laser and get an idea what I was talking about there. I will say there is definitely a learning curve to feeding that freehand the first pass there. It can make you look pretty silly when you're first starting, but you know, once you get a couple thousand feet under you, it becomes second nature. It's not that bad, but definitely takes a feel to feed that thing the right way. So I wanted to show you, this is some of that maple you just saw go through. Nice clean edge. Now I will say this is not my favorite blade I have on the saw right now. Some of my other blades are out for sharpening. It does a fair job, but you can kind of see the saw marks there. This was supposed to be a really high-end blade and it just never performed the way I thought it should. I definitely have some better blades. That being said, I also ran some oak when I ran that maple there. And I ran it through the planer right away because this is actually getting glued up into a panel. And the camera picks it up. I mean, you can see, obviously this is just sitting here, so there's a lip, but that's a pretty nice joint. I mean, I honestly would glue that with no problem. Now, me being me, I'm gonna mark this up like I always mark my panels and still run it over the jointer. Then I'm gonna take it over to the shop and glue it. So, yeah, hopefully you learned something here. I know over the years a lot of people have asked me about it, and I know I've showed it on the channel here in the past, but never actually featured it. So, I currently have a love-hate with it. My hands are all cut up from reaching up under the belly of the beast there, but it's a good saw. I really can't complain too much, and it does a very valuable job for me. So there you have it. That's what a straight line ripsaw is. Catch you guys next time.